Well, welcome everybody. Today is part 4 of the 7-part series on healing infidelity from the inside out. And Todd and I are continuing this conversation about your program, Healing Infidelity from the Inside Out. And specifically today, we're talking about healing the betrayed partner and infidelity and attachment styles. We're going to dive into all of that. In the last week, in the last conversation, we talked about healing the betrayed partner, and today we're talking about healing the betrayer. So if you didn't catch that one, we've got the link right down below in the notes. And before we get started, as usual, we want to make sure everybody knows about that guide you've created for people that are ready to get started on this journey full of strategies that you've personally used, Todd, helping thousands of couples successfully heal after infidelity. It's called the Guide to Healing Infidelity from the Inside Out. Yes, it's the same name as your program. And we've got
Repetitive.
that link. Well, whatever, it's a good day. That link is right down below in the show notes. So let's dive into this topic today about healing the betrayer, because it's equally important to heal the betrayed and the betrayer. So let's talk about, how does the betrayer begin their healing journey and take full responsibility for their actions? Because that's key, right?
That is key. And one of the things that you see with people that are betrayed is, as I talk in module one, is that panics a lot. They've been caught, right? They're oftentimes they're very fearful of loss. And again, the people that see me and the people that do my programs, they're usually not sociopaths. These are the people that have hurt the other person. And I always say, we're not minimizing the pain of the person who was betrayed. It was a serious offense. It robs
Mm-hmm.
from the betrayed person the opportunity to make decisions based on what's really true, and that's not okay. Um, so for the ones that I see, that there's panic, and there's oftentimes self-shame and self-loathing, and oftentimes the problem with living in there, it's one thing to experience it, but the one thing to kind of wallow in those feelings, to live in those feelings, is twofold. One is, you're not going to change for the better and make this a more trusting relationship if you stay there. And secondly, you're not going to be tuned in and present to your partner who needs healing too. So it really doesn't do a whole lot of good to live in shame and self-loathing and regret. So that's what this particular part of the module is. This whole module is about. It's helping that person who betrayed, to learn, to grow, to understand what's behind what they did in a deeper way, but mostly to heal, so that they can be present for themselves and the person that they betrayed.
Yeah. So you're saying they really got to get out of those feelings to be able to move on. And
They can't stay wallowing it. Of course, it's a normal feeling to feel shame and regret. Feelings are fine. Feelings are not the problem. But this module is about helping the person heal. They got to find, sure, there's these different parts of them. We've talked about parts.
mm-hmm.
There's the wounded part, there's the defensive part, there's the part that did that thing,
Yep.
but there's also a self, a healthy, wise self that we're trying to cultivate. It's not like we're giving it to you, we're just trying to help you access this wiser self, this more mature self that can be one of the biggest resources of helping to heal those other parts of you that did that thing, that beat you up for doing that thing, and all those parts that really are not going to give you what you want.
Okay. So, so much is focused on the betrayed partner, not the betrayer, but the betrayed partner, and getting them to heal, helping them heal. And I know you know this from thousands, helping thousands of couples heal after infidelity, that it's also equally important to give attention to the betrayer. But the question really here is, how do you make it safe for the victim of the betrayer of the betrayal to be able to understand and participate in helping the betrayer to help heal, right? And why is it
Yeah.
so important as part of the process? Because I'm sure most people are like, why they were the
Yeah.
wrong party, why do they
Right.
need to heal, and why do
Right.
me as the betrayed party, why do I need to help them,
Yes.
right?
Right. Right. Well, definitely, that's a very good question. And when I work with these modules, I am engaging both the person who was the victim and also the person who did it to help that person who did it heal for this module. And
Mm-hmm.
why is it important? It's important because the original problems, the core problems, came probably due to interpersonal reasons,
Yeah.
probably due to developmental interpersonal reasons, uh, faulty attachments, as I've talked about. Um, and so the healing, in great part, has to come from developing a healthier couple relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who betrayed does need to have the person who was the victim to help co-create the kind of environment where the betrayer can learn how to regulate in healthier ways so he or she doesn't betray again. So it's like we need the person who was the victim to be part of the solution,
Yes.
even though we're not saying that it's any responsibility for the betrayed person that, that to cause the person to cheat. It is the responsibility of the betrayed person and the betrayer together to create the kind of interpersonal um, atmosphere so that you could both regulate each other's nervous systems better, so that the chance of repeating an infidelity goes way, way down when you have that kind of regulating relationship where you learn to regulate each other. Where we talk about it in module 5, but in module 4, we're trying to help the person betrayed, and the person who betrayed needs to work on himself.
Yep.
The person who was the victim needs to, even though the pain needs to be acknowledged, needs to be present for that person who did the betrayal. You cannot, it's not going to work for the victim to look at their partner as some caricature, this evil, demonic person
Yeah.
who is a cheater, who always will be a cheater. I get those comments on YouTube all the time. People get mad at me, they get mad at me
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
saying that the person who cheated has issues and we need to look at and to make changes, because a lot of people have a certain automatic reaction where the person who cheated should be just punished forever and leave the person, and the person's no good, and none of that's true. So yeah, so the betrayed person, I want to repeat, is not at all responsible for the infidelity, but is definitely co-responsible for helping to create a climate that works.
So how do you make it safe though for that? The victim is already, as we've talked in other conversations. So how do you make it safe or possible for the victim to be
Mm-hmm.
willing to participate? How do you get that
Well,
person to
first of
that
all,
point where they can
yeah,
even think about it?
yeah, they need to be heard first, right? The
Right.
module set up. We take care of the betrayed person first. That's module 3.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you do the module once, you might need to do it a few times, right? It's a process. And it's very important for the victim, to take care of themselves, but I have the betrayer taking care of and being part of the healing for the person who was the victim. So we do that first, and you continue to do that when the person. There has to be, in order for us to, it's a big ask. It is a big ask to ask the victim of the betrayal
Mm-hmm.
just to tune in and to try to understand more deeply what's going on with their partner who just really hurt them. It's a big
Yeah.
ask. There's no question. So what we have to do is we have to see some commitment, some initial work. Why it's module 4, not 1 or 2 or 3. Okay, there has to be already some signs that the victim of the betrayal sees that the person who betrayed is doing the work. Say,
Hmm.
well, this is different. They're committed. That's very important. If I see a couple in my practice where the person who betrayed isn't doing the work, I do not ask the betrayer, the victim, to do this work yet, of tuning into the other person, be a part of the healing for the betrayer. That is not, there has to be a sense of there is something changing. You can't wait till it's 100% secure. Nothing is anyway. But you have to have some signs that you are really committed to this. Okay, you're committed to this. Maybe I can take down some of my walls, some of my protectiveness as the victim,
Hmm.
and focus on you and be part of your healing, which comes back to me. We have to help each other out. We have to understand that you don't have to risk all at once either. It's a process. So the person who's the victim, they they're tuned in and they do the best they can. And then as time goes on, maybe they're able to drop their protectiveness a little bit more,
Hmm.
and they're there more and they're tuned in more and they are curious more about the partner and learn about the partner more who did the betraying. So it is a process. It's not some big quantum event that happens.
Right.
So
So
the
there's a sense
betrayer
of
has to,
readiness. Readiness.
yes,
You have to
yeah,
see
the
the signs,
betrayer has to
and it's
demonstrate something and then baby
baby
steps.
steps.
Yeah,
Baby steps, especially here, because this is so
yes,
sensitive, and you got to make sure that the victim is able to do this. But you got to. This might be a slower process than
it might be,
some of the other ones.
probably
Who
is.
knows? Or if it come back and maybe this is
Well,
where you
again,
spend most of the healing time. I don't know. I'm just. It's
I
huge,
don't I
right?
don't see in my practice. I don't see that this takes up so much more of the healing time than the
Okay.
other things. I just think that everyone's different.
Right.
But the person who's the victim has to be able to understand at some level that I am just, I need to put out a little bit and then do the research. So yeah,
Yeah.
he or she, the
Yep.
one who betrayed, is already doing some work and also doing some work in this module. Like, what happens, what I see in my practice. I'll give you an example. In my practice, I've seen the person who betrayed, if the person who was the victim expresses some anger, some disappointment, and the person who betrayed goes, I know I'm such a terrible person. I'm so bad. And she is like, it doesn't, I'm saying she, I'm
Right.
using the word
Right.
she. I shouldn't be using the word she, but let's say in this case, since I said that the man, it's a heterosexual relationship, the man cheated, the female is in the victim role, and it's like, and she sees him do this. She's like, so I might say, well, how'd that feel when he did that? She goes, he just seems like he's all about himself still. He's not with me. And so now the
Oh.
person who betrayed has to do that work that we're doing in this module where, yeah, in this case, he gets out of it. He doesn't slip into his shame. He stays tuned in. Right? That's module
Yes.
3. And
Yes.
he's tuned into her and he's doing this like, okay, I feel bad about it, but this is about you right now. And I could understand how you feel. Tell me more. What's going on? I'm interested. I'm here. Oh my God, I can understand how yeah, that reminded you of when you were younger and your dad betrayed you too. Oh my God, I can get it. He is with her. Now she is going, wow, you're with me. So that when we get to module 4 now, and it's about him, she's already seeing, wow, you're showing some signs of being there.
Yeah.
Which, again, that's what he needs to do in this module too. They all kind of run together. But
Hmm.
he's going to be able to be there more for her. She sees the change. It gives her a little bit more. She doesn't even have to. Her protection starts to drop a little bit. And it's a little easier for her to be there. Not all the way.
Awesome.
Not
Yep.
all the way, you know,
Right.
um, but definitely a lot easier, a lot easier to understand and tune in to the other person.
Right. So we've talked a
Good
lot about
question.
good. Other conversations we've had about attachment styles. So let's address this in this module or this conversation about why is it so important for the betrayer to address their attachment styles in their healing journey.
Most most of the people actually I see currently that have cheated, they have an avoidant attachment style. But there are those also have the anxious attachment style. The avoidant attachment style, again, to review, is when the person regulates only internally and doesn't let others get close. So this is a person who really doesn't go around feeling love. They might know they're loved, but they don't feel it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't receive it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that other person who was the victim could have been loving you up and down, left and right, but you're not taking it in. It's like trying to feed someone whose jaw's wired shut. And so you're not taking it in. And so you're empty. And then
Mm-hmm.
you go to work and somebody is new and gives you a little bit of a dopamine hit, like gives you attention, and you feel alive. See, with your
Mm-hmm.
partner, in order to feel alive after a certain amount of time, you actually need to be open to receive. And if you have an avoidant attachment style, you're not going to get that close to your partner. So it's easier for you to take that dopamine hit and do that slippery slope and cheat. So once you are aware that you have an avoidant attachment style, you start to know what to work on. And part of the healing for this person who betrayed, who has an avoidance attachment style, is to learn his or her body. What's going on in my belly? What's going on in my heart? Can I see? Can I notice what I'm feeling and share with you and be open to you, which we talk about in module 5. But how can I also receive your love? I mean, I had this one couple I work with lately, and he goes, "Yeah, I wasn't really great at receiving." And now that I think about it, the fact that you're here with Todd Creager, and you haven't left me, even though I cheated on you, I never allowed myself to feel love just that you're still here. I could feel it.
Wow.
See, that was a step of healing. That's why he needs to know that. Now, the other style, the anxious attachment style, is when a person just always needs validation, validation, validation. Once they understand they have that attachment style, they know the roadmap is to learn how to self-soothe, how to
Mm-hmm.
calm down, how to not use people for my only source of anxiety regulation. I need to learn how to do that myself. So if my wife and I are having a struggle, or if my husband and I are having a struggle, I don't just go out and get soothed by
And do
somebody
something.
else.
Yeah, yeah. So awareness is a lot of it. A lot awareness and understanding how you one personally reacts in situations and why that causes other things you to go and do other things that might be detrimental to your relationship.
Yeah.
So awesome. So our last question here is really, can you give me one example, because you talk about journaling, um, of how journaling can help facilitate this healing process for the betrayer?
You know, it's so funny. I'm not sure if I said this in our last video or not, but the one the thing that I just used just today with a couple, and I use it. I use it in the program. A specific journaling is when you are able to recognize. Let's say the person has that avoidant attachment style,
Mm-hmm.
and they're able to realize they don't feel that love. They actually can write to their healthy self and say, "Dear healthy self, I'm feeling unloved, undeserving, blah 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 blah," and they start to recognize that there's a part of them that goes around feeling undeserving all the time. And as long as that part runs the show, they could sabotage that relationship. So that part uh, writes to the healthy adult self, "I feel terrible. I'm a terrible human being. I don't deserve." And then the healthy adult writes back, "Dear little
Mm.
so and so, dear little John, dear little Bob, I understand that you feel that way, and between you and me, I understand where that comes from, with a mom who is very busy and a dad who is very critical." Making this up, but not really.
Yeah.
um, and I understand that you would feel that way.
Yeah.
However, and I know I love you, which is a very important part of the process, because these parts need love, which we talk
Mm-hmm.
about in these healing modules.
Mm-hmm.
We help to love those parts. and go deeper into it. So, however, part two of this is basically you're too young to be married. I'm the one that decides how we're going to handle this. I will never keep a secret, and I will go to my partner as I'm learning how to be more open to sharing and more deeply. This is again the avoidant style. So that would
Oh,
be
okay.
an example of journaling to develop an awareness, but and
Yeah.
also kind of an integration of the healthy self with that part that feels so undeserving. That's one example. There are a number of ways to use journaling, and I encourage people to write about their feelings and to be aware of what's going on, to be able to write about when they feel particularly undeserving or they feel particularly vulnerable to an urge, to write
Yeah.
that down. Like, wow, I'm
Yep.
feeling that urge to call that massage place again. What's going on with me? What am I feeling? What's going on? And to write about it. And then they could do that exercise.
And then
You
does
might
that
want to do that, but I don't need to do that because I handle it this way. It's learning to develop that healthy self. That's one
yeah, so
good
that
example.
kind of takes you out when I'm just asking, like, so when you journal, especially in that last situation, it helps to work through the urge
You can work through
so
the urge.
that
When you're writing about
you
the
can,
urge, there's options.
yeah,
Slows you down, you know?
fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. So I hope everybody understands, like, listening. I mean, there's a lot more that goes than we've just kind of touched the surface here, but there's a lot
Yes.
more that goes into all of this. But these are like the key things that people need to be aware of, right? When they're going through the healing process as the betrayed partner, right? And some of the
Yes.
tips and things like that. But there's a lot more inside of Todd's program, and, if you're ready to get started on your healing journey, Todd has that guide that is the guide to healing infidelity from the inside out. It goes through the whole entire process in that guide, like gives you like all the steps and the whys and how it all helps. And it'll really open your eyes to this, you know, the successful, very successful method that you've used. So I urge everybody who hasn't gotten it to go down and get that guide. And then you'll get on Todd's list and then you can find out more about this very, very special and effective program that he's put together. So I think that's it for today. Anything else you
Mm-hmm.
want to add, Todd, to our conversation?
No,
We're good.
I think so. I think we said it, and
Okay.
it's just it's a worthy process. It's
It is.
just very rewarding.
And stay tuned because the next time we're going to be back talking about healing the couple. And I'm excited to talk to you about that because that's a very interesting topic. So stay tuned. Again, if you haven't caught any of the episodes, they're all linked below in the notes right there for you so that you can watch every single one at your leisure. So that's it for today, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.